Yet another discussion on Cancer Power Circle. We have with us Dhruti Dheber, who is a caregiver to her father, who has prostate cancer and is currently, I think it's been over 2 years since he's had prostate cancer. She will talk about his journey and how they as a family navigated the situation, especially because the prostate cancer was diagnosed during COVID and what were the challenges associated with that. Quick reminder to those of you who are new, Patients Engage is an online platform for patients dealing with chronic diseases and their caregivers. People come and share their experiences, and we hope that you can learn from each other's experiences as well as from the information we share from healthcare professionals as well. And the key important thing that we want people to recognize is that you're not in this alone. There are other people who've been through similar journeys or are available to support you in that journey as well. You will find a lot of our previous webinars, discussions with patients, etc., on our website as well as on our social media pages. So you will find under Cancer Power Circle or any of the cancer ones if you're looking at that. And we've always kept the patient and their families at the center of our discussions because they inform all of our content as well, and what we put out for the audience out there. We also focus a lot on relationships because cancer does not just affect the one person, it affects the family. So we've always looked at relationships of the patient with the rest of the family members and how it affects them. Just a reminder in the guidance, the views expressed in the view are of the panelists and are only intended to spread general awareness. They do not necessarily reflect those of the platform, and they do not replace a medical consultation. So please do consult your doctor for specific medical issues. You can post your questions on Zoom, Facebook, or YouTube, where we are live, and we will try and address them or now or later. And you can contact us on our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, or you can write to us at editor@patientsengage.com. As I said, Ms. Dhruti Dheber is a caregiver to her father who has prostate cancer guest, and she's kindly accepted our invitation to be here today. This is especially important because November is Men's Health Month and Prostate Cancer Focus, as well as it is National Caregiver Month. And we thought that this is a good synergy where both aspects come together in this conversation. This discussion will be done along with Urvi Sabnis-Dave, who most of you have seen before, and she's a breast cancer survivor as well as a caregiver, and she's a patient advocate herself. And I'm Aparna, I'm founder of Patients Engage. So let's get started. Thank you, Dhruti, for joining us today, and welcome Urvi once again to the discussion. Dhruti, can you start by telling us a little bit about your father, his personality and his background and about yourself?
Yes, Aparna. I'm Dhruti Dheber. My father's been diagnosed with prostate cancer in November 2020. And he is 84 years old. He is a retired government employee. So far, he never had any vices. When cancer was diagnosed, he was very frail and fragile. We came to know about his cancer after his prostate enlargement surgery. So since then, this journey has begun. I'm Dhruti, his eldest daughter. He used to live in Rajkot, but now they moved here in Ahmedabad so that we can get doctors and we can take care of him. I have studied master's in bioinformatics, so I'm quite familiar with biology and genetics. Uh, when I came to know about this disease, as I already know what it is, it was, of course, it's always a shocking when your loved one they get this, but it was still I knew how it works, how the treatment works, what are the survival chances, what if we catch it early, what will happen. So I tried to talk to my parents about that, and they have my father initially couldn't accept it, but now, I mean, again, always the question why me and all. But now it's been 2 years, he's doing very well, and he has accepted it as one of the things he will have to live with. But since he's getting the best treatment, it it doesn't show any signs and symptoms as generally cancers have.
Right, right. Thank you, Dhruti. Can you take us through? I know you said that it started with prostate enlargement. Can you take us through the initial signs and symptoms before the diagnosis?
Frankly speaking, see, he never had any symptoms of cancer or anything. He had this herpes, which covered his back and all. And after couple of months of treatment, he started having this urine retention. So doctors were consulted, and he was told that you have this prostate enlargement. So for now, for time being, catheter was inserted, and they said that the surgery is imminent, but uh, it's not. You can get it done later on. For now, catheter will do. But actually, after a month or so, it started getting worse. So when they came to Ahmedabad, we had to consult doctor immediately, and then doctor said we shouldn't wait much for the prostate surgery. So within 2 weeks, he was undergone prostate enlargement surgery, and after the surgery, they do the biopsy, and biopsy revealed that he has prostate cancer. His Gleason score was 8, it's quite high. So we were kind of afraid when we came to know. But after PET scan and everything, it was quite promising that his cancer hasn't metastatized to any of the other organs. Only a lymph node near the pancreas, near the prostate, has been affected, and some part of prostate. That's it. So his initial symptoms and primary symptoms were only of prostate enlargement, which is urine retention, and because of that, mild fever. That's it.
Right, right. So before the surgery, no diagnostic test was done in terms of PSA levels or DRE, digital rectal exam, nothing.
Nothing. Even even for prostate surgery, they just did the routine test and sonogram. That's no PSA. So
Right.
once the biopsy revealed that he has cancer, then PSA was done. So that was the first time after surgery.
Right. And they didn't do a CT scan or an MRI, either before or after.
No.
Okay.
After surgery, after biopsy, a PET scan
was done to see whether other organs were affected.
Right.
Okay. And in terms of the treatment options after surgery, what was because the surgery had already been done, so what treatment was he started on? Did they look at chemotherapy or radiation or any other treatment?
No, as I told you, he is 84 years old. He was 82 years old at that time, and he weighed only 42 kgs, which is a very, very frail body. So doctor suggested there were only few options. Chemotherapy, we were not considering at all because he wasn't in state to take it. The two options were one, either the removal of prostate, which which is another surgery. Another was hormone injection, hormone therapy.
Right.
Even the radiation wasn't considered at that time owing to his physical state.
Right. Right.
They were the only two options. And we weren't sure that he could undergo another surgery, prostate removal surgery. So for time being, we thought this hormone injections are the best therapy for him. Even he was reluctant to undergo again for the surgery.
Right. Right.
And injection sounds benign enough. You just get a jab, and that too every 3 months.
Mm.
So he was quite okay with the option.
Right. Right. And post surgery and kind of once he's on hormone therapy, were there any effects or side effects of this treatment?
Not, I mean, almost none. He, he has put on some weight,
Mm.
but yeah, that's because the hormones are testosterone blocking, right?
Right. Right.
So then his metabolism, I think, has slowed down. Otherwise, in fact, we have seen improvement in his health after this hormone injection. Also, he has asthma,
Mm.
and he was treated for asthma in Ahmedabad again after like long time. So his health has improved after treatment. We didn't see any side effects or any other symptoms.
Right. So no effects in terms of, because as you said, the hormone therapy can cause impact on metabolism. So diabetes onset or heart conditions or any such thing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Osteoporosis. Yeah.
No, I think for osteoporosis, to prevent that, doctor has given calcium tablets, which he's taking every day along with that. Other than that, even no other medicines been given. Every 3 months, he's been given this hormone injection. That's it.
Right. Right. Thank you. So let's look at some of the aspects that we need to discuss. So currently, where is he at? Is he because he's been taking hormone therapy for 2 years? So what is his current state? Is his cancer in remission, or it's under it's stable? Where are we?
Actually, since his health has improved in this 2 years, he has put on quite a bit of weight. Everything is going on fine. So then doctor suggested that let's try radiation. Main reason is this hormones, they don't really show good efficacy after 2 to 3 years. It's been already 2 years. So it might flare up, it might show metastasis. And now that his health is such that he can take radiation, so we are going to start with radiation starting tomorrow.
Right.
He'll have 7.5 weeks of radiation, during which he'll be again done MRI, CT scan to see how is it going. So that's the thing. Even we asked about, what after radiation? Generally, they say that after radiation, patients live easily 4 to 5 years without any complaint. If there is a remission, which they will keep on checking with PSA level and
Right.
MRI or scan, CT scan or something, he might be given hormone pills, again, not jabs, but just pills. So, which is 4 to 5 years down the line.
Right.
For his age, it's quite promising.
Right. Right. So clearly, okay, we'll come to the specific fact that your father was elderly. But let's talk of and Urvi. Do you have any questions, Urvi, before we get into the discussion on aspects of communication, etc.?
No, yeah, I was going to ask her that.
Yeah, go ahead.
How did you
Go ahead.
communicate, like at every stage till now, whatever she's told us? Was it difficult to communicate with him about the diagnosis or the line of treatment?
Yes, very difficult. It's been at every step of the way. every step of the treatment, he was refusing it. First of all, it was very hard for him to come to terms with the fact that he has cancer. He kept on arguing that my lifestyle is very regular. I sleep at 10:30. I wake up early, no vices, nothing. So why cancer? And after we tried to explain him that nobody knows that. Even doctors cannot explain. He started resisting first, that why do I need treatment if I'm doing so well. See, that's the thing with cancer, it doesn't show really symptoms. In his case, we never had any symptoms other than prostate enlargement or urine retention, which was all the symptoms went away after surgery. So then he said, even if there is cancer, why do I need treatment? I'm doing fine. Another thing is, one of our close relatives, he had this cancer. Again, he came to know after prostate enlargement surgery, and by the time they knew, it was already metastatized, and he passed away within a couple of years of diagnosis. So he was very reluctant to even go for prostate enlargement surgery, that if I get this done, I will have cancer. He didn't understand quite the phenomenon, how it works. So we had to explain to him, we had to coax him. It's like reasoning with a child, that how it will affect you, how if you don't get it done, prostate enlargement surgery, you'll be stuck with the catheter for your life. And we don't know if you have cancer. It may happen. It's not that you undergo prostate enlargement surgery, you will have cancer. It is not always true. Unfortunately, in his case, it happened. So again, the first hurdle was to get it done, prostate enlargement surgery. Second, after surgery, when he was diagnosed with cancer, it was, we were in a dilemma how to give him the news, how to break the news, and how will he take it.
Right.
It was another challenge.
And I remember you saying that you so he came to Ahmedabad for the surgery for prostate enlargement, and then they went back to Rajkot, right? And that's when you got the results of the tests afterwards. So how did you handle that communication? Did you tell him over the phone? Did you tell your mother over the phone? If you can also talk about some of the strategies you employed there.
Sure. See, first of all, when we got the news, even I was kind of upset, but I talked to Urvi, and we had to control our emotions because we had to handle him. But after that, we first met with an oncologist, and he explained to us, we wanted to know, before we break the news, we wanted to know what it is actually and how will we handle it, and what is the prognosis in his case. So we met an oncologist. He showed us this treatment options, which is, we can explain to him that it's only jabs, you will not have to undergo anything else. So we were kind of relieved that he will be okay with the course of treatment. Second thing, we had 1.5 months before we break the news, because after prostate surgery, they wouldn't do anything until everything gets healed completely. So during that time, we thought of how will we talk to him, and we also took a help of the relatives that their father had cancer. So we took them along. We went to Rajkot, because this is something we can't talk over phone. Even we didn't tell my mother, because we didn't know how will they react, how will they take it, and there is nobody else with them at that. There was nobody else with them at that time.
Right.
So we cannot just leave them high and dry after the news. Somebody has to be there to comfort them, to take care of them. So we went there, and we explained them. We broke the news. Surprisingly, they took it very well, but maybe they didn't get the gravity of the situation at that time, because again, as I tell you, he never had any symptoms. So they thought, okay, it's something, but I'm fine. So we'll take it as it comes, or I don't know exactly what it is. on his mind, but he took it very well. Even my mother, my mom started thinking about financial, because she is quite rational, level-headed person. So she started talking about financially. We told them that prospective treatment will you require, be there, not travel so much back and forth to Ahmedabad, Rajkot. So you also should start moving. So think about moving to Ahmedabad. So that's what we did. We went. We broke the news. That's how it was handled.
Right. Right. Urvi, you were saying something?
No.
Okay. What kind of a support system did you kind of build? I know you said one thing was that you wanted them to move to Ahmedabad. How did you create a support system, not just for your father, but also your mother, because she effectively, in some sense, is the primary caregiver in some ways, and while you are, of course, interfacing with the medical teams, etc.
Basically, my in-laws, my husband, they are very supportive. So they are of the same age, my in-laws and my parents. So then when they came here for initial treatment, they all tried to explain to him that it's only a phase. Everything will be all right. So you don't have to worry. We are there for you. Emotionally, that way he was like, he saw people of their age, and
Right. Right.
so that was kind of comforting for him. My mother, for her, we are there, because then she realized that, see, all the doctor's appointment, going there, handling finance, all the tests, that will be handled by us. So she will get a lot of support that way. She has
Right.
to handle only my father and everyday chores and his health. She has to look after only like those things. So
Right.
she was very eager to move. My father was kind of that, yeah, if, and it so happens that there is a very good cancer hospital near our house in Rajkot. So he kept on arguing that why can't we go there? Now, the decision making is something my father wouldn't listen to her. It's something that we can, tell him either decisively or in a strong manner, and he would listen to us. So my mother knew that even if the hospital is nearby, all this decision making will be on her. So she
Right.
said that we move. So we rented a house very nearby from our house. So then she gets that support.
Right. Yeah, I guess there's always this challenge, right, as to who has agency. Is it the agency of the patient, primary patient, or is it of the caregiver? And in an ideal world, of course, you say that the patient should decide. But often as caregivers, we start to, kind of influence is okay. I guess the thing is that how do you balance that as a caregiver? Do you ensure that while you're pushing, but you still let him make the final choice? Did you kind of keep that in mind?
Yeah, what we did is, I mean, many times we had to supersede his decision, but we kind of make sure that he thinks that he's in with us. So we keep on telling, since he's very close by, I go there and I keep on explaining him, showing him various things, giving him various examples, and see, this is what is going to happen. This is best for you. We
Right.
communicate. Basically, communication is the key here. And other than that, you have to make him understand that whatever we are doing is in his best interest. It will prolong his life. He will have minimum side effects or minimum discomfort throughout the treatment process and even after that. I think that convinced him that, okay, so when he realized the result of prostate surgery, that he was quite relieved of all the pain and discomfort. After that, we kept on giving him that example that, see, you were saying no for this, and say, you are so better now, so this will happen
Mm,
better.
mm. Right. And just on that, so after the prostate surgery, he didn't need to be on a catheter at all, right?
No.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify on that. Urvi, you have any questions for her?
Please go ahead.
Okay. So, you talked of the fact that all of the hospital processes, etc., you are there to take care. Did you have any specific challenges, or do you kind of look back and say, yeah, it really would have been tough for them to handle this alone as an elderly couple?
Everything. See, first of all, when he was diagnosed, it was COVID era. It was the end of first wave. So even going to hospital, we went to a hospital which is close by and good one. It is non-COVID,
Mm,
and we were kind of scared that he shouldn't get contracted with the COVID right before surgery. We had to go through hospital protocol for everything, for tests, for admission, for discharge. So that was some, even for everything, like even we get a cab, we are scared that we shouldn't get COVID from cabby.
mm,
So at
mm,
every point of the way, we were concerned for his health. He was already frail. For the caregiver, like if I'm going with him, so we decided that I will be the only one taking him everywhere for tests and everything other than actual surgery, because we wanted to minimize the exposure to other people, my mother
right,
actually.
right, right.
And after, so that was the first challenge. After that, him being a geriatric patient, see, all everywhere wait is very long, the lines are very long. So that's also a challenging thing. He was very fragile. He has to sit for hours together before tests are done. Even the tests themselves are very uncomfortable. Say MRI, even sonography, all those are very uncomfortable for him. But he had to go through it.
Right.
Being geriatric patient, those are the challenges. And again, see, hospitals to navigate places from one place to another, they would ask you to go first here, and then they take vitals, and then you have to go to the actual doctor. After that, you go for the jabs. That's third place. So even my mother, if she is the only person, then last thing is billing after
Mm,
every visit. And in between, he has to use bathroom frequently because he has this prostate thing again. All these things are quite challenging for an elderly couple. There's
right,
no such thing that when you go, that's the only place you go, and then everything uh, is taken care of. Not
right,
it anywhere.
right. Urvi, from your experience, also you've been both a patient and a caregiver. You'd like to add anything on the navigation through hospitals, even though you in a way you've been there, done that for yourself, but when you do it for another person, and especially an older person, how does that is that do you find it tougher? Any experiences that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, when it comes to older people, like I've seen that they are already mentally weak, otherwise
Mm,
also. And when they hear that they have this life-threatening disease, it's very difficult for them to handle. So during my mother's treatment, I'd seen that she used to have this ideas like whether this radiation machine will fall on me. She
mm,
used to completely agree that it is illogical, irrational. But she
mm,
used to have this every day. Every day she used to feel that, will I be able to come out, the way I'm going inside?
mm,
So yeah, there were many such challenges which we had to handle every day.
mm.
This happens with elderly people. I don't think I've never seen your younger patients going through such things
So
because
even as a patient advocate, you support other patients, you don't see that as much of an issue. You see it much more with elderly patients.
yes, yes. So when they go for robotic surgery, this is not about my mother, but other patients, when they go for robotic surgeries, they have a lot of doubts.
Mm.
Uh, whether the machine will have virus, will it operate some other organ? No, they don't know the technology, most of them.
Correct. Correct.
So they have doubts and fears.
Mm.
This is one thing which I've seen.
Right.
While
Right.
we are in COVID, Dhruti, when he was going through this, did any one of you had undergone this, like you contracted COVID or?
Luckily, no, luckily, we didn't get COVID during his treatment. After that, but it was for different reasons. I had corona after that, but not during his treatment. So that's a good thing. Otherwise, it would have been a disaster. Him down with all this illness, and then the caregiver down with COVID.
Right. Right.
And
And that would have increased the risk of him catching the
he-
COVID as well. So, yeah.
And
So that.
yeah, as Urvi is saying that she has never seen such fears or anything in young patient, but I'd like to say like the old people, they're like child, and they are also like they would voice out whatever their concern or their fears are. Young people, first they might not have fear or concern, or even if there is, they would be, they would be
Hesitant.
hesitating, yeah, before they voice it out. Old people, they don't have the such kind of inhibition. They can say or
Possible.
Right. Right.
they voice out immediately.
Right. Possible. Yeah. That's an interesting observation as well.
Yeah.
Right. And again, coming to you, Urvi, as far as communication is concerned, again, in your case, did you kind of think differently about what to communicate with your mother, etc., or did both of you? And I think so. Clearly, both of you did not hide the diagnosis from your parents. Dhruti, you decided to time it such that you deliver that in person. Urvi, in your case, were there anything on that communication aspect that that comes to your mind that you want to share?
Yeah, so I was the one who took her for mammogram. I had to
Mm.
convince her a lot actually for going for a mammogram, and I was the one who knew that yeah, it is positive. And again, they wanted to recheck, so I got that time to address my emotions. I was sitting there, and then I thought, how should I tell her? So then I made the whole family sit and broke the news. She broke down, which was very natural and expected out of her and my siblings. Then she was okay, ready to go for further investigations. But I saw that my father was like completely silent, not uttering a single word. I had to actually counsel him. So but I thought that he doesn't need long discussions or long talks. I just took him to the terrace, and after holding his hand and looking into his eyes very confidently, I said, "She's going to be okay. She's going to be." I think he just needed to hear that she's going to be okay. And then he just asked, "And what after that?" I said, "Then after you know me, right? You've seen me. I'm doing well. She'll also do well. She is old, so accordingly she will do. After that, but she's going to be all right the way she was earlier. We need to just take care of her." Then after he was also fine. Yeah.
In your case, Dhruti, did your mother? I mean, I know you said she was taken aback, but then she's the practical one. And your father basically said, how can I get cancer? But was there any other times, maybe on the treatment discussions, where they both reacted differently? Or now when they've decided to go with radiation, did you have to navigate that? Was it more difficult?
Yes, it's always, challenging, as I told you, with him to convince him for every treatment. So every step of the way, he is reluctant, he denies, he said, see, these hormone injections are working just fine. Why do I need to go for radiation?
Right.
And again, we had to convince him that it won't be effective in a very short time from now on. Before it flares up, it's better that we start with this radiation treatment. And my mother she completely trusts me and my husband's decision. We explain to her, she rationally understands everything about the treatment. And then she also tries to convince my father whenever he tries to argue. He told doctor that why do I need radiation now? Doctor
Right.
told him that you needed radiation from day one, but because of your health, we didn't decide to give you radiation at that time. So now it's high time that we start this. So yeah, that's always there. My mother actually helps us convince him. Yeah, then she never even once asked why this. It's only
Right.
father. He's kind of skeptical about modern medicine, I guess. And why me is always like, again, this time he argued with Dr. Ritki, I sleep at 10:30 on same thing. That then why do I need any if I haven't changed anything in my life? Why do I need to go for this treatment? I'm fine. But then we had to tell him that you're fine because you have been taking this treatment. It's other way, not other way around.
So I think you also mentioned in our pre-webinar conversation that, he looked at it as if I can get hormone therapy just like, somebody else takes insulin, and you can be on insulin all your life, pretty much. So why, in this case, there needs to be a change, right? So how do you explain the fact that some of these treatments only work for X number of years, and then after that, and that's true in cancer, that after a while the body, the cancer becomes resistant to those treatments. So that's a tough one to explain, right, to patients.
Yeah, that's what we just in very layman terms we had to tell him that see it stops being effective after 2-3 years. It's been already 2 years that you have been given this, but it will flare up. And we have had relatives who had they passed away because of cancer. So we say in their condition, one of my aunts, she had ovarian cancer, and when in her last days I saw her and she had nodes visible on her neck here. And I told him that see, that's because the drugs were not effective because it had already flared up. In your case, it's localized because of hormone. And if we give radiation, it will never flare up like the one in my aunt's case. So it will be very useful for you. In her case or in other people's case, if it has flared up, you cannot really give radiation. How many organs will you, try to give radiation to?
Right. Right.
So I totally explained him all these facts, and then also I don't think he's fully 100% on board, but he realizes that okay, first of all, I don't have any recourse. Second thing, yeah, again positive that so far I'm good. Maybe this will help me as well.
Right. Right.
You can see that the thing in his voice, in his eyes, that okay, not 100% on board, but
right. Right. Urvi, in your case, was your mother reluctant about radiation? Or were there treatment options which she was more reluctant about?
So convincing her for radiation was very easy because we were contemplating chemotherapy as well. And she was more scared about chemotherapy. So she was like very relaxed when she heard that, yeah, chemotherapy is not required, and she was ready for the radiation therapy. Had it been like, had we had to go for chemotherapy, it would have been very, very difficult for us to convince her.
Right.
One thing, Aparna, see, he asked me that will I be bald? I said, no, this is not chemotherapy. This happens only with chemotherapy, and you are going for radiation. Another thing, he was a welfare officer in his work. So he once told me that he had seen the patients with cancer, but I think not having any symptoms may have worked against him in a way that he never really saw it as the dangerous disease, because the patient he saw were had, they had lesions and everything. In his,
Right.
it's totally like invisible.
Right.
So
I
he,
think also, yeah, sorry, go ahead, finish what you're saying.
yeah, that's it. That he never realized it, the gravity of the situation. The
Right.
task of he couldn't grasp the concept.
Right. Right. Yeah, the other thing I think, and this Survi, maybe we'll have to talk offline as well. I'm increasingly, some of the doctors on our webinars have been saying that even newer or kind of more recent chemotherapy as well. Not that the chemotherapy itself has changed so much, but uh, the treatment available to handle the chemotherapy side effects have improved. So I think that's something that we should probably, figure out how to talk to our community a bit more. For instance, I think nausea, etc., they now give antiemetics and so on, right? So it's over the years, I think some of these treatments do change, but most people think of it as what it was, when they first encountered somebody with this condition. So I think that's something that, as patients or family members, you must always understand that these treatments, even though the name is the same, they change over time. So, even radiation therapy, some of the radiation therapy options now are very, very targeted, and it's like it it's not like, again, olden days where the machines were not so targeted and not so directed. So I think those things, it's important for people to understand that they should not compare it with something that happened 20 years ago with somebody else or 10 years ago. So
Yeah, but we need to make them understand. And like in all my pre-chemotherapy sessions, I tell the patients and caregivers that you'll get a list of medicines and the symptoms. There are possibilities that you may get this. There are possibility that you won't get anything from this whole list. So there are medicines with you, and you can handle these side effects, because
right,
all the patients and caregivers, they are worried about side effects only,
correct,
and
correct,
hair loss, which is also
right,
one of the
right,
side effects.
right, right. At any point, did you consider taking a second opinion on any aspect, or did you take second opinions, especially since you were moving in from Rajkot to Ahmedabad, and you found out that it was cancer after a surgery, etc. So, did you consider a second opinion? Were you aware that you can do online second opinion, especially during COVID? You were not obviously wanting to go from hospital to hospital, but
I mean, we knew about online opinion, but we just got first biopsy done second time.
right,
It's standard procedure in hospital that they do it after surgery. So they got it done on their own, and then we went to an independent lab, and we got the biopsy done. So once the biopsy results were the same, then we didn't think of taking another opinion as to
right,
whether there is
right,
cancer or not. And when it comes to choosing doctors, I had Urvi, and then I had my friend whose relative was also diagnosed with prostate cancer. So they suggested unanimously a good doctor, and so again, going to doctor was not a problem. So no,
right,
second opinion only in terms of biopsy we thought.
right, right. Okay. And one aspect which we also would like to touch on is the financial aspect, as these treatments are expensive, and how, again, how did your father deal with that? Because sometimes the older people also are in this mode, okay, I've lived my life. Why should you spend so much on, my treatment, etc. So, any discussions on that or any thoughts on that? And both of you, but we'll start with Dhruti and then with you, Urvi.
In terms of finances, yeah, one thing I would like to say that everything is very expensive. Just starting from PET scan, which is around 30,000.
Mm,
So that was the first step uh, in the way of cancer treatment. That was very expensive, and then onwards, everything is very expensive. So that's something. Thankfully, my parents we didn't have any financial constraints in seeking any treatment.
mm,
But when I think about other patients who are financially challenged, it's very difficult for them to, you know, get a good treatment, because even doctor's consultation, hormone injection, radiation, everything costs so much. No, and yeah, he never told us, and we never let the finances come in the way of treatment. Our first aim was to get him cured, get him comfortable as much as possible. So even the move, which is a part of treatment,
mm,
so it was, we were contemplating it for a long time. This was something we had to do. So that was also a financial burden, but that was never a concern or a problem with us. But
right,
yeah, it could be for
right.
other people.
And he was, I know you said we discussed that and you talked about how, his point was that there is a hospital next to mine, but you'll manage to convince him. But that can sometimes become a just, difficult discussion within families as well. So, Urvi, in your case or any other examples that you have of, some of finances being a reason for elderly refusing, treatment for cancer.
Yes, and you are right that I think everyone, like all the elderly patients, they feel that, why should we spend so much? In my case, it was, in my parents' case, it was very simple because my father, again, a government servant, and my mother was partly covered. He had to spend some, like, say 40%, but they
Mm,
were very clear that all our lives, like, we have been saving
mm,
money.
mm,
So what is, we can't use it right now. So they were very
right.
clear about it. But yes, I've seen this, that how much will I live? 80
Mm,
plus, patients who are 80 plus, they have this, like,
right.
how much more
Right.
we are going to live. And then they consider all other ailments, like I have diabetes, I have hypertension. And then they have done that, this thing, like survey kind of thing among themselves, that they live up to 85. And now I have just 3 more years, and why?
Right.
Mm,
Right.
yes.
Yes. And at that age, every conversation they have with a relative or a friend, somebody is passing away, right? So, and that kind of, yeah, it doesn't help in terms of their moods and stuff as well. How did, Dhruti, how did you make sure that they stayed positive, especially because there was also a change in location? So sometimes that can be very unsettling as well. And their routine gets affected. So how did you or how did they make sure that they stayed mentally positive throughout this whole experience? It can, especially that initial period, and I guess now as you had to navigate the radiation discussion.
Right. Let me answer that. Let me add something more to the previous question where you said how did they react to the financial. Uh, Most of their life they never had anything,
Mm,
any major diseases. They never were admitted to hospital and all.
mm,
So my mother was of the opinion that, see, we have money, and if we can't use it for this purpose now, what is the use?
mm,
In fact, it was a good thing, positive thing, that they think it that way, that okay, we need to get better, whatever the age is, and
mm,
money is there, so we can use it. Definitely, we can use it. There's no constraint.
Right.
Answer to your this question, how comfortable it was for them. See, initially, as I told you, my mother is always comfortable because she got a lot of support. Otherwise, she had to handle everything from banking to household to medical visit, doctor visits, and
Correct.
decision
Correct.
making, everything. Now she has to handle only like household things.
Right.
She was quite relieved and she felt at home immediately as they moved. But my father, he kept on insisting, going back and forth for quite some time. So that's why almost after a year of the treatment, he moved here. So for first few months, say 8, 9 months, they kept on traveling every 3 months for the injection. Then it was even he realized that it's not a viable option, and so they moved. But then he wasn't very happy. He kept on saying that after treatment gets over, we might, move back.
Right. Right.
But after he has lived for a year and few months now, he is, he never, I mean, he's okay with the move. In fact, he's planning that he can, settle for good for here now.
Mm.
Maybe he realizes the support. He is surrounded by all the family members.
Right. And I think one other thing that some of them do think about is that if one of them passes away before the other one, then that other one has support, right? So I think that's another.
That must be in the back of his mind because, yeah, I mean, if God forbid anything happens to him, my mother will be all alone. So at
Correct.
least we are here next to her.
Yeah, because I think
See,
often after a critical illness like this, that thought does come into their minds, and then they start kind of thinking about it a bit more. So seen that in a few cases as well.
voice it out, but I'm sure he must have thought about it. That yeah, I mean, you never know what happens with this thing. So
Right, right. Urvi, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I've been trying to convince my parents for the same thing. Like they are also in a nearby town, but I have failed miserably. And
I
still
don't think
my,
of it as you failing. I think sometimes it's just.
but they are very clear that A or B, whoever outlives, you take that person to your home.
Okay. Right, right. Okay.
yeah, even my parents, I have been trying to convince them to move here for so many years. But this cancer, after this thing was diagnosed, and then we had to start the treatment, it was a decision.
Right. Okay. Any final words, Dhruti, to our audience on, on Prostate Cancer Month, Men's Health, National Caregivers Month, any aspect or anything that you'd like to, final message?
Definitely. See, first of all, when I came to know, I read about this prostate cancer, and ever since after that, I've told my husband and all the male in my family friends that you should get tested your PSA every year after 50 years,
Right.
just like a normal blood test, CBC you get done. So that's there. And then if it gets caught on time, it will always be, in my father's case, it was diagnosed on time, and he's doing very good, right? So that's the thing. If it gets caught on right time, it is not as devastated as it is, supposed to
Correct.
be.
Correct. Correct. Urvi, any final thoughts?
Just a question occurred to me for Dhruti. That what changes you would like to see in the hospital or in the system for the benefit of elderly people, elderly patients?
First of all, they should be, given priority. I understand all the patients are there, but geriatric patients should, at least be given such a time visiting hours or something where there is less line, less waiting. And other than that, it should be more patient friendly. Doctors should learn to deal with the older patient in different ways than they treat other younger patients, because it requires quite a patience. It's like treating a child.
Yeah.
And you cannot be rude to them. At the same time, you cannot ignore them, and they will be very persistent about their things. So um, they need to be treated at least bedside manner, we call it, little
Correct.
different than the younger patient.
Thanks.
Right.
Those
Yeah.
two are my main concerns.
Thanks.
Good points. Yeah, I think that it's tougher to deal with elderly than with children. I think children you can distract and
Or you can shout at them and
you probably don't shout at them too much, but I think you can definitely distract them. So
yeah, or you can give like you can say, I'll give you sweets or bribe them.
correct. Tempt
Right.
them, yes, bribe them. Right.
That-
Okay. Yeah, Urvi, final words from you.
So Men's Awareness Month. And we talk about women too much, so could we did this?
Right. Okay. I think Dhruti really summarized both points on men's health as well as the point about elder care and what changes need to happen in our healthcare system to make it easier for them. And thank you so much, Dhruti, for talking about your experience and your father's experience. And thank you, Urvi, for also sharing, as always, your experience with specific as well as all the work you do in supporting patients. And thank you to our audience. And as everybody has said, do take care of your own health and be proactive in managing your health. And if you are a man over 50, then do get your PSA checked. I think that's the guideline, but whatever is the guideline, do check it as well. Thank you.